Hi, I'm Michael Mintz, and today's SeleniumBase tutorial is going to be on Recorder Mode, which lets you record and export browser actions into test automation scripts. The fastest way to use Recorder Mode is through the desktop app, which you can launch by calling sbase recorder on the command line. So if we open up the SeleniumBase console scripts, which you see here, you'll see that recorder is one of the commands. And you'll also need at least SeleniumBase 2.3.0 to activate it. However, a newer version also works. So let's go ahead and type sbase recorder on the command line. You'll see that it spins up this desktop app that allows you to choose a file name for your recording as well as a starting URL. And then you have a few other controls such as regular playback or playback in demo mode. So let's start by doing a recording on an advanced e-commerce website. So let's do www.saucedemo.com and click record. That's going to start the recorder, or SeleniumBase in recorder mode, and now you can start recording your actions that you want recorded, or performing the actions that you want recorded. So I'm going to log in as the standard user, and I'm going to put in the password here. I'm going to click login, and then I'm going to add something to the cart, and then I'm going to click the cart. I'm going to click checkout. I'm going to type in a fake first name and fake last name, and then a fake zip code. And then I'm going to click continue. Let me shrink the screen so that my face isn't covering it. Then I'm going to click finish. And then I'm going to switch into Assert text mode by clicking Shift 7. And you'll see that the red border has turned into teal. So I'm going to click on this text here, which is the thank you for your order, and then I'm going to do Shift 6. You'll see a pink background appear. That switches the recorder into Assert element mode. So now I'm going to click on this image here, the Pony Express image, and let's say we're done recording. So I'm going to go back to the console here and type C to continue, because technically we were in PyTest debug mode. And now you'll see that it recorded a script. So it has me opening up the URL that I typed in, followed by typing in the text and the password for this website, clicking the login button, clicking to add an item to the cart, and then all the actions that I performed, such as checkout, filling in my first name, last name, well, fake names, and a fake zip code, clicking continue, and then finish. And then, as you can see here, I did a special Assert text mode with the Shift 7, which allowed me to create this line here, thank you for your order, which it verifies is in this selector on the page. And then also the Shift 6 mode for asserting an element gave you this line here, self.assert element, image, alt equals Pony Express. So now let's verify that the script was recorded properly. I'm going to click the green playback button. So as you can see there, it played back the script. So now let's also try playing back the same script, but also in demo mode, which lets you see what actions are being performed by the web browser. So I'm going to click on Playback Demo Mode. And I'll just shrink the screen a bit so that my face doesn't cover up the screen too much. So you can see it's now doing everything in demo mode, which is highlighting the actions that the browser is performing. It's going to click finish, And there it's going to do thank you for your order, where you can see what's being asserted and also asserting the image there. So the first was a text assertion and then was an element assertion. So as you can see from that, the recorder was able to both record and play back the recording that you made to make sure that everything was working. And as you can see, the recorder gives you very simplified selectors, basically giving you the optimal selector for the job and keeping the script as tight and as clean as possible, as seen here in the console output that it printed. So now let's go back into the recorder mode documentation, where we can explain a little bit of what's going on here, what you just saw. So this recorder app that we launched basically is a nice shortcut for commands like this, where sbase mkrec, the name of your file, and then --URL equals the URL you want, which basically opens up a web browser with the recorder mode extension and then drops you into a breakpoint so that you can enter actions into the test that you're creating, and then leave that by typing C and then pressing enter, which allows you to continue from the breakpoint which you created. So that is the standard way of running the recorder from the command line. So let's say we want to just copy paste this just so that you can see that working. I'm going to close the recorder app, and I'm going to run this particular script directly from the command line, sbase mkrec new test.py --URL equals wikipedia.org. So it'll spin up the browser and it'll also launch recorder mode. And now let's try clicking on English, and then I'm going to search for food, and then I'm going to click on one of the food things, such as food preservation, just a random thing. And let's say I want to assert that that text is there in the test. I'll do Shift 7, the border changes, I click on food preservation, and then let's say I'm done. I can go back into here and type C to continue. And then as you can see here, it created the recording, and this is the SeleniumBase file that was generated. I opened wikipedia.org, I clicked on English, and then let's see, there's an extra line here because technically when you click on a button that sends you to a different URL, that's two different actions that were recorded. Clicking the button that redirected you to a URL, and you've also opened up a new page. Now, in order to simplify things or prevent an extra action from happening, the recorder might create a line self.open if not URL, which will open that page only if the previous line did not already take you there. So when customizing your script, you may decide that you don't need that line in there and you can remove it. Otherwise, basically modify the recorded script as needed so you can optimize the final test that was recorded. So now that I have that, and it says here that my recording was copied to new test.py, I'm going to do pytest new test.py, and I'm going to run that. And it's going to perform the actions that I did, do food, and then I'm on the food preservation page. And that basically had the recording played back to verify that everything was working. So that's pretty much the basics of recorder mode. There are a few other things that may be useful to note, such as the documentation will have everything you need to know about the assert element mode, which is basically the Shift plus 6 keys together, or the caret key, that lets you start clicking on things and asserting the elements that are there. Or you can use the ampersand key, which is Shift plus 7, which switches you into a assert text mode, which lets you assert text on the web page instead of elements. And in order to switch back to regular recorder mode, just press the escape key once if you're already in Assert element mode or Assert text mode, and you'll go back to the regular recorder mode with the red border. Or if you want to leave recorder mode entirely, press escape again. And to get back into recorder mode, if you've escaped it, you can press the tilde backtick key, which is located directly underneath the escape key on most keyboards. So for extra flexibility, the sbase mkrec command, or mkrec, however you want to call it, that's basically combines 4 different actions. The sbase mk file testname.py --rec, which creates a new empty test with a breakpoint in it, and then it runs pytest with that in recorder mode in order to let you add in your actions. At the end of that, it then that gets saved into the recordings folder with test_name, or whatever you called it, _rec.py, and it prints that so that you can see exactly what the test was when it was printed out. As you can see here, it printed out the test after it was done recording, as well as here. So if we go back into here, so that's sbase print command, another console script which basically prints the output of a file right to the console. And then finally it copies the recording back from the recordings folder to the folder where you initiated your pytest run command. So that is pretty much the basics of recorder mode. And you may want to familiarize yourself with breakpoints, such as import ipdb, ipdb.setTrace, which lets you create a breakpoint in your code to pause the test so that you can then perform actions that get recorded. And of course, to leave the breakpoint, you can press C and hit enter, and then it will resume from where you left off. And for any more important information that you may want to know about how recorder mode works and the Chromium extension that it runs off of, the help docs will have all that information for you. So that is pretty much SeleniumBase Recorder Mode, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much, and there'll be more exciting tutorials coming up. Thank you, and have a good night.